environmental studies, occupational studies, and ecological studies, as well as in these more traditional energy studies. There is less evidence when it comes to BPA and chlorinated compounds, but in some studies there are evidence for a link with diabetes as well. So the strength of association in these studies for the PCBs, I think, is quite stunning. We also looked at summary measure of the pesticides, and also in this case we saw association with future diabetes, and in the highest group a risk of about 4. And in this case we also looked at BMI, which was slightly lower. The risk of diabetes for BMI when we adjusted for the pesticides.
Haven't we heard of these mechanisms sometimes before? So you've heard about some of them earlier, so let me just mention briefly some that didn't show up. We have a number of studies showing that air pollution is associated with impaired endothelial function. We have a lot of studies showing that air pollution is associated with changes in autonomic function. We see increases in endothelium levels, we see increases in inflammation and oxidative stress, evidence that it, activates NF-kappa B pathways, for example. And that all sounded kind of familiar. And so back in the 90s, we thought, well, if you push on some of these pathways far enough, the responses may start to get nonlinear, and that suggests that maybe diabetes might modify the response to air pollution. So that's what we started looking at. And so the question is, what evidence is there that that's true? And there's evidence from a range of studies, starting at the simplest level with studies of administrative data that we can get from health systems, moving on to physiological studies and biomarker studies. So the administrative studies, what we did here is you can get mortality data. It's harder and harder to do this, but you can get mortality data from the government, and you can get hospital admissions data. And so the question is, A, do more people die or enter the hospital for cardiovascular disease on high air pollution days? And by the 90s, we were showing that that was true. We had quite a number of studies showing that when air pollution went up, that was followed by more people dying of myocardial infarctions or being admitted to hospitals. So then the next question was, are diabetics at greater risk of those events? And so back in 2001, we published a paper, and Prof Goldberg at Montreal also published a paper from the same year showing that the answer was yes.